The men and women of the VFW know the value of freedom because you've been its protectors. You were there when your country needed you. You shouldered heavy burdens and accepted great risks. I'm sure many of you will also recall from your experiences in war, as I do from mine, that when you're somewhere on the other side of the world in the service of America, you pay attention to the news from back home. It affects morale. And even during this election season, with sharp differences on the wisdom and success of the surge in Iraq, Americans need to speak as one in praise of the men and women who fight our battles and are serving now with courage and bravery. They're the best among us, as you were before them. And I know you'll join me in applauding the courage and skill that will see America through to victory. Though victory in Iraq is finally in sight, a great deal still depends on the decisions and good judgment of the next president. The hard-won gains of our troops hang in the balance. The lasting advantage of a peaceful and democratic ally in the heart of the Middle East could still be squandered by hasty withdrawal and arbitrary timelines. And this is one of the many problems in the shifting positions of my opponent, Senator Obama. With less than 3 months to go before the election, a lot of people are just still trying to square Senator Obama's varying positions on the surge in Iraq. First, he opposed the surge and confidently predicted that it would fail. Then he tried to prevent funding for the troops who carried out the surge. Not content to merely predict failure in Iraq, my opponent tried to legislate failure. This was back when supporting America's efforts in Iraq entailed serious political risk. It was a clarifying moment. It was a moment when political self-interest and the national interest parted ways. For my part, with so much in the balance, my friends, it was an easy call. As I said at the time, I would rather lose an election than lose a war. Thanks to the courage and sacrifice of our soldiers, sailors, Marine, airmen, and to the brave Iraqi fighters, the surge has succeeded. And yet, Senator Obama still can't quite bring himself to admit his own failure in judgment, nor has he been willing to heed the guidance of General Petraeus, one of the great leaders in military history, or to listen to our troops on the ground when they say, as they have said to me on my trips to Iraq, let us win. Just let us win. Instead, Senator Obama commits the greatest error of insisting that even in hindsight, he would oppose the surge. Even in retrospect, he would choose the path of retreat and failure for America over the path of success and victory. In short, both candidates in this election pledged to end this war and bring our troops home. The great difference is that I intend to win it first. Behind all of these claims and positions by Senator Obama lies the ambition to be president. What's less apparent is the judgment to be commander-in-chief. And in matters of national security, good judgment will be at a premium in the term of the next president, as we were all reminded 10 days ago by events in the nation of Georgia. It's been a while since most Americans, including most of our leaders and diplomats, have viewed Russia as a threat to the peace. But the Russian government's assault on a small democratic neighbor shows why this needs revising. As I have long warned, Russia, under the rule of Vladimir Putin, is becoming more aggressive toward the now democratic nations that broke free of the old Soviet empire. Russia, as we know, also holds vast energy wealth, and this heavy influence in the oil and gas market has become a potential weapon that Russia is clearly prepared to use. Georgia stands at a strategic crossroads in the Caucasus. The Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline, which brings oil from the Caspian to points west, traverses Georgia. And if that pipeline were destroyed or controlled by Russia, global energy supplies would be even more vulnerable to Russian influence, with serious consequences on the world energy market. For some time now, I've been making the case for a dramatic acceleration of domestic energy production. With high prices and growing demand for oil and gas, Americans cannot remain dependent upon others for the most vital commodities. We should drill offshore, and we should drill now. And Congress should come off their 5-week vacation and go to work for us. In case you hadn't noticed, they never miss a recess or a pay raise. Now we are reminded that energy policy is also a matter of the highest priority, not only for our economy, but for our nation's security. We can't keep sending $700 billion a year to countries that don't like us very much, and some of that money ends up in the hands of terrorist organizations. It's got to stop. And I pledge to you that as President, I will lead from the front to reform our VA system and make sure that veterans receive the respect and the care that they have earned. The Walter Reed scandal was a disgrace unworthy of this nation, and I intend to make sure that nothing like it is ever repeated. There are other problems. There are other problems as well that have not received as much media attention, and my administration will do the hard and necessary work of fixing them, even when the press and the public are not watching. The next president will have many responsibilities to the American people, and I take them all seriously. But I have one responsibility that outweighs all the others, and that is to use whatever talents I possess and every resource God has granted me to protect the security of this great and good nation from all enemies, foreign and domestic. It's every veteran's hope that should their children be called upon to answer a call to arms, the battle will be necessary and the field well chosen. But that's not their responsibility. It belongs to the government that called them, as it once was for us. Their honor will be in their answer, not their summons. Whatever we think about how and why we went to war in Iraq, we're all humbled by and grateful for their example. They now deserve the distinction of the best of Americans, and we owe them a debt we can never fully repay. We can only offer the small tribute of our humility and our commitment to do all that we can do in less trying and costly circumstances to help keep this nation worthy of their sacrifice.